Grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B., and I am a son of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a qualifying addict of multiple fellowships living in the miracle of recovery, and I'm here with the intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Nikki, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's going on today.
Well, God morning, everybody, afternoon, and good evening, God evening. I'm just, again, having the greatest day of my life as Justin and I are just getting circled in here. It's like, every day isn't a skip in the park, is it? It's just, we just have to constantly do this work. I get a daily reprieve. So as I was celebrating someone else's demise yesterday, okay, that's how sick I get, Justin. Something happened to someone that actually was a resentment eating my soul and has been for years in the government. And instead of, doing God's work, I celebrated in something that was actually sad. And I'm just course correcting and getting humble and realizing, I'm not going to do this work perfect. Every day is not going to be a pink cloud. And that's okay, because my book, the magic book, our book, the big book, tells me there will be ups and downs. Nikki, you will make mistakes. And there will be certain trials in low spots. But these are all opportunities to grow. And I'm grateful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki. And yeah, I totally identify with that. There are ups and downs, and I'm grateful for the steadiness of truth. When truth is there, truth is unchanging. It's there, and I can rely on that even as I'm wavering up and down. Very good. Thank you. All right. This project called Noodle It Out with Nikki M is an exercise and deep dive into finding solutions to questions, issues, and things we encounter in everyday life in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is one of the RICO 12 family of recovery resources that we're working with. We've got other ones. We've got the RICO 12 speaker meeting. We've got RICO 12 shares, and we've got the RICO 12 Big Book roundtable. All of these are different podcasts, different services that you can access at any time. We encourage you to go check them out at rico12.com. And now we're going to jump into this conversation, this Q&A with Nikki M. I'll bring a couple of questions either from my own life, from the lives of people I work with in recovery, or from you, the listening audience. We'll bring those questions to Nikki and the Big Book. So if you have a question for a future episode, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com. That's Nikki with 2 Ks @gmail.com. And now get your Big Book out and get ready to run around it and make some notes, because we're going to jump into the solution here. All right, Nikki, this first thing that I want to discuss today is about a phrase that I hear often in recovery rooms. I hear often, from my wife, I hear often from others, and I actually repeat it often, is that expectations are nothing more than predetermined resentments. Now, you talked a little bit about, some resentments that you've been harboring for a couple of years about, a certain individual. Tell me a little bit about how expectations and resentments go hand in hand, and how I can overcome, or how I can work with these expectations and these resentments that seem to follow right away with them.
Okay, this is a great question. And again, we've talked about this. This is excuse me, I got, a frog in my throat. This is about a design for living that really works, is what the big book says. Everyone, get your big book out. We're going to 420. And that's not your local pot shop. That's the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, 420. And it says, these are exact instructions. Perhaps the best thing of all for me to remember is that my serenity is inversely proportional to my expectations. My line out says no expectations. See, the higher my expectations of the human race, of the people, the lower my serenity. I, Nikki, and you too, Justin, we can watch our serenity level rise when we discard our expectations. And this is what always happens to me. But then my need to be right, my need to prove everybody that I know better, that don't you know, aren't you on the know, especially with this thing with my government. I mean, everyone knows I've had some issues the last few years with COVID, lost my job, lost rights, fine. But then my need to be right moves in. And that too can force my serenity level down. My line out also says bad pride. My sponsor tells me, Nikki, you're filled with bad pride, false pride. And I have to discard my rights. Now, next to my rights in quotations, I put line out, dying of the self. This is all about dying of the self. Why? Let's not lose our page on 420, Justin, but let's roll into page 63, where we made a sincere and we took a sincere position. And then it also says that we're less and less interested in our own little plans and designs. I love that word because I like to be like a 2-year-old. If you could see me on the camera, I like make this really ugly child face and go, well, no child's face is ugly, but you know that look that a mom just wants to smack into next year. My teenager does it. And it's like, your plans and designs, me, why me? And then it says, I'm supposed to take a sincere position. And when I become less and less interested in myself and my own little plans and designs, my expectations go away. I have zero because God's in charge. Remember, I abandoned myself. It doesn't say surrender. It says abandon myself. So if I go back to page 420, it says, I discard my rights as well as my expectations. Again, line out, no expectations. What's a life with no expectations? Asked the person in the back. It means you fully rely on God. It means that God's plan is greater than yours. I mean, this is radical stuff. Page 53, friends, to the person in the back asking, well, no expectations. It says that God is everything or God is nothing. See, I didn't know that at first. This has taken me, I've been in the rooms 11 years. That doesn't mean I've done it perfect. I have not one chip. I'm in different fellowships and those people who have been here picking up chips in Alcoholics Anonymous and in any of the, narcotics or CA, all these, you can never pick up another alcohol or drug again if that's your drug of choice. Just like my drug of choice, the obsession of men and money. I'm not allowed to pick that stuff up. Full stop. Just doesn't work for me. I just don't do that. I don't do that anymore. I've been reborn. So this is, I don't have, and they creep in, remember, a daily reprieve. So my expectation on my government now that the restrictions are down and I think I know better. Well, Nikki, if you knew better, you'd be prime minister. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, you'd even hold a seat on the city council. But Nikki, your job, because you're in the world to play the role God assigns on page 68, is to obviously be a sponsor and to be Noodle It Out with Nikki on Mondays and Tuesdays. That's my role. See, I wasn't assigned that role. So I have no expectations. This is radical humility. Let's roll that. And then you can get back in here and give me some comments, Justin, which is my creator. I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. Page 676, everybody. This is your prayer. Step 7 prayer. My creator. I am now, this minute, in this moment, everyone, let's just drop to our spiritual knees. If you're at your desk, don't worry about it. If you're standing and walking, I don't expect you in the grocery store, but drop your spirit right now to your knees and say, my creator, I am now, this minute, willing that you should have all of me, good and bad, no expectations. God's plan. That's why they say many pursue it to the gates of insanity or death, because Justin, this is not easy. It says simple, page 14, comma, but not easy. A price must be paid. And what's the price for us in this conversation? 0 expectations. That's your price today, along with your whole entire being, servant of God.
I'm gonna be the guy in the back row again, raise my hand, say, but Nikki, what about goals? What about visions? What about the the future? Do I need to be shooting for something of value here and have the hopes at least that I can progress and reach those things? What does the big book have to say about that? Because dang it, I want to progress.
I love the person in the back always. And thank you for playing devil's advocate here. Here we go. We're still on page 420. Okay. And it says acceptance. You can also put no expectations is the key to my relationship with God, guy in the back. And then it says today. See, we're just living for today. And then this is your instruction. You never just sit and do nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. See, I do what's ever in front of me to be done. And I leave the results up to God. However that turns out for me, that's God's will. So I don't sit and do nothing. So you said goals. Well, let's see, the podcast. I didn't just sit and do nothing. I kept sponsoring. I did the next right thing, right? I talked about it. I believed God would have us here. I was like, for years, Justin, I'm like, I need a podcast. Like, I didn't just sit and do nothing. I sponsored. I carried a message. I started getting a new phone. I'm on a new phone today. Like, I'm moving with technology. I'm not just sitting and doing nothing while waiting for God to just, let's just get you into a studio with the fancy microphone Justin has. No, I got to go out and do these things. So I don't just sit. I have a boyfriend. I'm going to be a wife. I don't just sit and do nothing. I learn how to be a wife because I've been single for a long time. What does it look like? See where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. Well, my Jewish women that I know, the fellows I have, they know how to be a wife. I watch what they do. My Tamil, Sri Lankan friends and family, I see what they do. All of my friends who I want what they have, I see what they do. This is for inside and outside of the rooms. I don't just sit and do nothing. I had to plan. See, here it is. I want to get to Luxembourg, which I'm leaving for in 14 days. I had to buy my ticket 4 months ago. But what happened in 2020 when God had another plan and the ticket I had, I could not use because there was a world pandemic and no one could fly, not just me. What did I do? Well, I didn't just sit and do nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. I followed the instructions of the big book, which say on page 70, I throw myself harder into helping other people. This is serious stuff, Justin. See, I could have thrown myself harder into getting under someone to get over someone, but I don't do that anymore. The instructions of the big book don't say that. They say my job is to be helpful. So person in the back who's going on like, what do I do? I have no goals. You not only do the next right thing, you know your job is to be of maximum helpfulness. Then you roll into what the traditions say. You're fully self-supporting, sir. Do you have a job? Excuse me. You're fully self-supporting there because the traditions come into play here. This is a full entire book. So you better go and get a job. You don't just sit and do nothing. Oh, and it says here, let's go even deeper. Page 77 says your purpose is to serve. Are you serving your mother? Oh, Nikki, my mom died years ago. Well, what about Auntie? What about that lonely lady, the neighbor who lost everyone and everything in COVID? You serving her? Because that's what the book tells you to do. Your purpose is to serve God's people. So there's lots to do without even setting your goals. Because I had a lot of goals. I was supposed to be Oprah and Beyonce, but God had a different plan for me. Okay. I'm supposed to you know what I mean, Justin? No, not you, Nikki. You weren't given the gift of singing. You were given the gift of just interpreting the big book with your own experience, strength, and hope. And that's what gift God gave you.
Thank you for doing that and sharing that. I love the last paragraph, and I think this fits in here well with this question. The last paragraph on page 420. I must keep my magic magnifying mind on my acceptance and off my expectations, for my serenity is directly proportional to my level of acceptance. And tell me about that magic magnifying mind, Nikki. What does that mean, and how do I accept that and not go into it's all about me and my magic magnifying mind? Then talk to me there.
Okay, well, I love that you read that. I just love the way we bounce off. God will do for you what you can't do for yourself. I thought I needed some young 17-year-old whippersnapper who knew social media, but I needed Justin. Okay, here we go. Magic magnifying mind. The book is telling us our mind is magic. Think about that. You and I accept the dictates of our big book. The book is telling you that you have a magic magnifying mind, Justin, but you've been focusing on the wrong things. So above there, I wrote, I must keep my obsessive mind. See, remember, everybody, the problem, page 23, it centers in my mind. That's what it says. It says, therefore, let me just roll in there. So we're on page 420, we're on page 23. You can just write these notes so you can do the big book dance with your sponsees. See, therefore, the main problem of the alcoholic addict, the person who suffers from the family disease of alcoholism, the problem centers in your mind rather than in your body. This is really radical stuff. So I need to keep my magic magnifying mind. And it tells me on acceptance. Well, there's a prayer, there's lots of things, believe the book, and off expectations. See, my mind, that's why I say magic book. And you can roll into here and we could have a whole nother noodle, because I want to show you this book is magic, everybody. Someone's brains might explode during this podcast, and that's cool because it makes room for more information. Page 559. Oh, well, I've got some old school people. We don't read the stories, Nikki. Well, you should, because there's lots of juice and meat in here. And the very last paragraph, first sentence on page 559 of my 4th edition of the big book, my Bible for Survival, says, above all, I put my name there, Nikki, rejects fantasizing and accepts reality. See, my magic magnifying mind likes to fantasize. And it's not always about some hot dude on some magical beach. It's sometimes murderous. Sometimes it's scary thoughts like, my son hasn't called me and it's too late and I have him lying under a bridge. You understand where this goes. None of that's reality. I must reject fantasizing of any sort and accept the reality. The reality is I'm a spearhead agent. The reality is I am blessed beyond belief. Where does it say that? It says, when resentful thoughts come, pause and count your blessings on page 119. See, I have to accept the great reality. And you know where that is, everybody. That's on page 55. And God, this is just the never ending story, because we can just roll into a million pages, but here it is. We found the great reality deep down within us, not in some fantasy world, not in some bottle, not in some bag of fentanyl or cocaine or crystal meth, not in some refrigerator, all you can eat buffet, not in porn, in your social media, in your likes, in your scrolls, in your bites, in your cutters out there. You cut yourself, pulling your hair, nail biters. This is serious. Are you snorting piles of fear? We found the great reality, the power deep down within us. So about your magic magnifying, Justin, I wanted a podcast. My magic magnifying mind wanted that. And God placed that in my heart somewhere. I didn't know. I thought I needed to play guitar and be Shakira. But the truth is, no. My magic magnifying mind manifests this. Sometimes it manifests a deep addiction where I want to die. Does that make sense too? Because we tap a source of power.
Absolutely. And I've got one more thing that goes into this, I think. I actually received a text message from a brother in recovery this morning, and I'm going to read this. He's addressing, one of the most difficult parts of his recovery lately. And he says this: lately for me, I think I'm focusing on the wrong things. I'm so focused on not relapsing. It's always in the back of my mind, kind of like a waiter who carries glass dishes and thinks, don't break the glass, don't break the glass. And when I do relapse or get far enough to the edge, I just decide I failed and then relapse. And my thoughts are, now I'm a failure. So anyways, talk to me a little bit about that magic magnifying mind and obsessing on the problem rather than the solution, and how what do we learn in the big book about dealing with that type of situation?
Roll back, everybody, to page 419, please. I love God. I love this magic magnifying mind, because I can't remember my niece's birthday, but I certainly can remember what page I'm on. Here it is, 419. It is the second paragraph down about I can do the same with an AA meeting. And I just want to go halfway down when it says, when I focus on what's good today, I have a good day. When I focus on what's bad, I have a bad day. If I focus on a problem, the problem increases. If I focus on the answer increases. You roll back up. Let's just read the beginning. I can do the same thing with an AA meeting. The more I focus my mind on its defects, I can do the same thing with myself, friend, brother, fellow who wrote into Justin. I can focus on my defects and how my mouth is disgusting, how I say and do things that are not acceptable. I'm telling you right now, the late start, the long drunk-a-log, the cigarette smoke, the worse the meeting becomes is what the book says. But when it says try, but I don't like that word. When I see what I can add to the meeting, how about when I see what I can add to life? I can add a lot to life rather than what I can get out of it. See, I'm supposed to be moving from taking to giving. We take a sincere position from taking to giving rather than, when I can get out of it. And when I focus my mind on what's good about it, rather than what's wrong with it. When I focus my mind on what's good about Nikki M, rather than what's wrong with this loving child of God, I keep getting better and better. It says the meeting keeps getting better and better, but I keep getting better and better. See, when I complain about me or you, I'm complaining about God's handiwork. So friend who texts Justin, you're forgetting the truth. And let me speak it over you. You were laser designed in God's perfect image. Nothing can touch you because you tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. You're beyond human aid. You are an intelligent agent spearhead created in love and light. This is serious stuff because I'm going to go deeper. My world has programmed me that if I'm not those people, those celebrities I mentioned, if I'm not looking like my neighbor, Pam Anderson, she's not my neighbor, but everyone loves Pammy. If I'm not these people, I'm no good. And then I start comparing myself with those less than. Well, I'm better than them. See, laser design. Don't look at me. Our behavior patterns vary, says the book on page 22. You're special, dude, and you need to wake yourself up to that. And how do you do that? You hang around the rooms of any anonymous, because this is where all the weirdos are. I'm telling you right now, I've been in a lot of rooms, and this is where the most special. I don't even have a word for it because, like, you called me a weirdo, Nikki. Well, I mean, if we get honest, we're driven by 400 forms of madness. That makes us a little different, doesn't it? Justin, thoughts?
Oh, love it. I think this is a great place to wrap this up, man. I'm grateful to be a weirdo in the rooms. I wasn't always, but when I embrace the fact that I'm a weirdo, that I'm broken, but that I am laser designed and put back together, much like that Japanese pottery. They break it and then they put it back together with gold in between. God does that with me. And if he does that with me and Nikki, we're disasters. If he does it with us, he can do it with you. Come be a weirdo with us. If that's what you need to be, come be a weirdo with us. Get into acceptance. Get out of this fantasizing and these expectations. And let's do this. Let's trudge this happy road of destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.